Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in the video, and today we're going to be previewing the NBA Finals and going over my predictions for this year's NBA Finals. I'm very excited to go over my predictions for this year's NBA Finals. I think it's going to be a very good series. I really do. Look, sure, the Thunder are a great team, but so are the Pacers. This is one of the best defenses in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder, going up against one of the best offenses in the NBA, and the Indiana Pacers. Not only that, the Thunder are also one of the best offenses in the league. This is going to be an entertaining matchup. Look, you saw in the Pacers Knicks series, right? There was a 6-game series. There were many close games, many close fourth quarters. I think that's what we could see in this series right here. You saw a lot of closer games with the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder in this second round, right? You didn't see that in the OKC series. There was 5 games. And there was only one game that was close, and that was Game 4. Even the game that OKC lost, they got blown out. 3 of their 4 wins were blowout wins. Now, there were a lot of the games against Denver that were closer, even some of the games they lost, and some of the games they won. Memphis, we saw some pretty big wins. I think there's 2 close games. The final 2 games in that Memphis series were close for OKC, and then the first 2 were blowouts. I mean, historic blowouts. So, but I think you're going to see, you've seen dominant performances from this OKC team in the conference finals against Minnesota. But I think you're going to see a closer game because the Pacers are a team that have some of the best pace in basketball. It's crazy that, it's ironic that they're the Pacers and they have probably one of the best paces in basketball. They move the ball fast. And that... look, with how good the Thunder are offensively and how quick the Pacers move the ball and they try to have great tempo, I think I look at it this way. It makes me think there's going to be a lot of points in a lot of these games in this series. And at times I think the pace of this game might be very fast for both teams with how good offensively they are. The Thunder, if the Pacers are going to move the ball fast like they normally try to do, then the Thunder are going to go right back at you. And you saw that in a couple of the Knicks games. Like, you saw that in Game 1 for the Knicks and the Pacers. Like, you saw it right away, first quarter of that series in the conference finals, where the Pacers are moving the ball quick. They're scoring a lot of points. The Knicks are matching that energy. You saw that in Game 4 of that series as well. And I think you're going to see that a lot in this series, too. I think it's going to be a fun series. I'm excited for this series to start tonight. I think there are a couple crazy things we can go over with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that he's going to be trying to get in this series if he can win it. Now this is a crazy thing. Guards to win MVP and the title in the same season. It has not been done since Stephen Curry in 2015. Michael Jordan did it 4 times. Magic did it in 87. Bob Cousy did it in 57. I believe that's right. So Bob Cousy did it once, Magic did it once, MJ did it 4 times, and Steph did it once in 2015. It has not been done in a decade. It's only been done by 4 players. Shai, that is a great group of guys to be a part of. If Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Thunder were to win the NBA championship this year, to join a list of Stephen Curry, the best shooter of all time, MJ, arguably the best player of all time. If Steph is the best point guard of all time, then Magic, the second best point guard of all time, one of the best players of all time, top 10 player of all time. Bob Cousy, I don't know if I would say he's a top 10 player of all time, but Bob Cousy was a great player as well. That is a great list to join if you are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Another thing I do want to note is I think this is the best point guard matchup you're seeing in the NBA Finals since the 2016-17 season. You saw in the 2016-17 season, and for 2 straight finals, I'm not including the 2014-15 finals because Kyrie was injured in that finals, barely played in the finals in 2014-15 finals. 2 years in a row, we saw Kyrie versus Stephen Curry in the finals. That was a great matchup. Obviously, sure, maybe Kyrie wasn't the best player on his team. LeBron was, but he was an amazing point guard. And obviously, the Warriors had Stephen Curry, and that's what we saw 2 finals in the 2015-16 finals where the Cavs won and came back from down 3-1. And then also the 2016-17 finals where the Warriors won in 5 games. And so since then, look, we've seen some solid point guard matchups in these finals, but this is the best one, I think, since Kyrie versus Steph. Look, the next year we saw Steph versus George Hill. The year after that, it was Steph versus Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry was a great player, especially when he was in Toronto, but just, not as good as Kyrie, not as good as Kyrie and versus Steph or Shea versus Halliburton, in my opinion. The next year, the Lakers really didn't even have a point guard. I mean, they had Rajon Rondo. I guess LeBron was at point guard, but he wasn't a real point guard. The 2019-20 finals was barely interesting at all to watch, anyways. And the 2020-21 finals, it was you had Chris Paul versus Drew Holiday. I'm not saying that's not entertaining, but it's not like, I don't look at that like two superstar point guards going up against, or two like star point guards going up against each other. And then the next year we saw Stephen Curry versus Marcus Smart. 2022-23 was Jamal Murray versus Kyle Lowry, or Gabe Vincent. 2023-24 season last year was Derek or Drew Holiday versus Luka. So I mean, that was interesting, but not as interesting as compared to Kyrie versus Steph or Halliburton versus Shea, and that's what we're seeing this year, Shea versus Halliburton. So like I just went over everything we've seen since Steph went up against Kyrie 2 years in a row. This is the best point guard matchup, in my opinion, in the NBA Finals since we saw Kyrie versus Steph 2 years in a row. And so that's another reason I'm really excited for this series. But, I talked about Shea potentially joining the list of Steph, MJ, Magic Johnson, and Bob Cousy. How about this other list? He would become the first player since the 1990-91 season to win the scoring title and win an NBA championship. Who did that? That was Shaq. So, that was, that just right there is another crazy thing with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But I'm excited, for this series. I'm gonna go over my game, predictions. My series predictions, game by game predictions for this series. Let's get into it. So game one, I'm going with the Indiana Pacers getting a game one win. I think this is unlikely, but this is the way I look at it. The team that has got more rest has always, it seems like in these playoffs, have been affected. OKC got affected by this when they had a lot of time off after the Memphis series, and Denver didn't have a lot of time off, and Denver won game one. There's been a lot of instances where the team that has more rest loses the game one. And we saw that all the way until the Pacers beat the Knicks. Every second round matchup in game one, the team that had less rest won. The Thunder and the Timberwolves game one of the Western Conference Finals, the Timberwolves had more rest, the Thunder won. And then the Knicks Pacers did end that streak of 5 games in a row where that happens, because the Knicks, the Pacers had more time off and the Pacers won. But so I'm going to say that the Pacers, the Thunder come out with some rust because they haven't played in a minute. Sure, the Pacers have had some time off as well. They've been off since Saturday, but OKC has been off since like Thursday or Wednesday. So if OKC comes off with some rust and the Pacers come out with heavy tempo, the Pacers in my opinion, can come out with a great energy, and I'm going to go with the Pacers winning game one of this series. But, we've seen the Pacers in every series so far go up 2-0. Does that happen? Do you steal 2 games in OKC? If you do that, I think you're winning the NBA Finals. They did it against... and no one said they would... no one thought they could do it. At least I didn't. I didn't think they could go to New York and win 2 games in New York. Sure as hell didn't think they could go to Cleveland and win 2 games in Cleveland. Look, what we saw with Milwaukee wasn't that hard, having to, beat Milwaukee 2 games in a row, especially without Dame. So that wasn't very hard for the Pacers to do that. But they've gone 2 in every series so far. And I'm going to say that ends this series. I'm going with OKC winning game 2. Now, game 3 in Indiana, I think this should be a game where the Pacers win and go up 2-1, but I'm going with the Thunder winning a close game to go ahead and take the 2-1 series lead and make that 2 wins in a row. But I don't see the Pacers losing 2 games in Indianapolis, so I'm going with the Pacers winning game 4 to tie the series up at 2 apiece. But back home, OKC game 5, that's a game they're going to get, and they're going to take a 3-2 lead. And that's where I see, you know what? I'm going with the Pacers winning game 6. This is another thing I want to talk about. I've never seen a game 7 in the NBA Finals. I started watching the NBA in the 2016-17 season. A lot of younger NBA fans have never seen a game 7 in the NBA Finals if you started watching during the 2016-17 season or after that. So I want to see it. I want to see a 7-game series more than anything. And so that's why I'm going to go with the Pacers winning game 6 to send the series to game 7. I'm going with OKC winning this series in game 7 and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting the finals MVP that he has a 85% chance to win. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.